So yeah, I got a handheld PS2 from AliExpress, and we're not working with emulation or anything like that because we've got real PS2 hardware inside of this device. Hey, what's going on everybody? It's ETAPRIME back here again. Today I am super excited because we get to take a look at a really awesome handheld that I've had my eye on for a while. Now I got this from AliExpress, and if you're interested in learning a little more, I will leave some links in the description. But basically, what we have here is a handheld PS2. Now usually, when it comes to these handhelds, we talk about emulation. But with this, we're not emulating anything because this has real PS2 components inside of it. It's a custom portable handheld PS2, and this thing is absolutely amazing. It's got a 7-inch IPS display with a resolution of 1280 by 800, and yeah, this plays real PS2 games from a USB drive or micro SD card. And of course, when it comes to the design, they've taken a lot of cues from the PS Vita and the PSP. I've got my PS Vitas here just to give you an idea of how big this thing is. Remember, we've got a 7-inch display here. And since they've managed to pack a full PS2 inside of this unit, it is a bit of a thick boy, but it doesn't take away from it while you're playing it. It actually performs just like a PlayStation 2 would, but we don't have a disk drive, and obviously we've got a built-in battery and a 7-inch IPS display attached to the whole thing. We will take a look at the internals by the end of the video, but my guess is this is actually using a PS2 Slim inside of here, maybe with that PCB cut down a bit. It's got a memory card soldered in, and everything will run from this USB port up top here. And in order for all of this to function correctly from USB, it is using FreeMC Boot. Real quick, I'll give you a look here. This is the only USB port on the unit, and it's kind of a USB/micro SD card reader. I've got a 64 gigabyte card here, and I've added some of my own games to it. It's actually really simple to do. Round back here, not much going on, but we definitely have that PS Vita design. And if you head over to AliExpress, you can pick this up in a few different colors. They've got white, which is the one we're taking a look at. They offer a red, gold, black, and even a pink version. But yeah, I think this thing is really awesome, especially given that we're working with real PS2 hardware here inside. Like I mentioned, the overall unit is a thick boy, and rightly so, given that we have a full PS2 shoved inside of this thing. Our power switch for the screen is down here, and once we want to boot up the PS2, we can press this button over on the left-hand side. It'll bring us right into FreeMC Boot, and this is running from a memory card inside of the unit. And this is going to bring us right to our game selection screen. Everything is being read from that micro SD card up top, and I've just installed some games here that I personally like to play. And you can go through, add your own artwork, screenshots, and some metadata here with each one of these games. But we do have full control over the built-in screen and volume. It's got dual stereo speakers. We can adjust the brightness, contrast, saturation, and everything like that. If you're not familiar with FreeMC Boot for the PS2, basically what this allows us to do is run games from USB or a hard drive. And this is actually installed on the internal memory card. The memory card is an original PS2 memory card soldered in place. And MC Boot does allow us to do a lot more than just launch games from USB, but basically with this setup here, that's exactly what I needed, because we don't have a disk drive on this handheld PS2. Getting right into it, we'll go ahead and launch Tekken 5 here. I wanted to show you some gameplay. It actually works really well. These games are going to run at full speed. Another thing the creator has added here with this handheld PS2 is an internal fan to keep the system nice and chilly. It's not terribly loud, but you can hear it spin up if you've been playing for around 30 minutes or so. Personally, I think this IPS display looks great. It's not an AMOLED or anything like that, but you know, we're playing PS2 games. It's 1280 by 800. These games do look great on it. It's got plenty of brightness. I don't have it jacked up to 100% right now, and it's totally fine. I could actually turn this down and not have a problem with it. The buttons and analog sticks feel great here. So obviously we've got those dual analog sticks. We've got our D-pad, which is separated just like a PS2 D-pad would be. Cross, square, circle, triangle. We've also got start and select under the right-hand analog stick and the PS2 power button under the left analog stick. It also has L1, L2, R1, and R2 up top. But really, when it comes down to it, we're playing on a real PS2 right now. This is not emulation. We've got the same hardware that the PS2 Slim had in it, so all of these games are going to work properly. Now from MC Boot, you may need to add a few different parameters to get a game to work correctly. Like for instance, Gran Turismo 4, right out of the box, the controller wasn't working. All I had to do was add the correct fig in MC Boot and it was good to go. let's go ahead and move over to another one of my favorite PS2 games. We've got Ratchet & Clank going commando. Analog sticks feel great, and yeah, they do have L3 and R3, so you can press N on them if you need to, if the game supports it, and of course, some games required that L3 and R3 button. But yeah, this is really awesome. I mean, I've been having a blast with this thing. Of course, it is a bit expensive for what you're getting here, and you could always run something on the Steam Deck, emulate your favorite PS2 games. But this is definitely a different kind of handheld device because we don't need to rely on emulation. We've got real PS2 hardware here. So this was another game I definitely had to test real quick. We've got Automodalista, and I'm a huge fan of the GameCube version because that's the one I grew up with, but obviously it's also on PS2. I really wish Capcom would kind of reboot this franchise. Love the cell shading cars here. They could definitely do a lot with the power all of these new consoles put out. But either way you look at it, playing the PS2 version on a handheld PS2 is really awesome. Before we pull this thing apart and take a look at the internals, I wanted to show you something else that AliExpress sent over. This is made by a company known as MoveSpeed, and they actually make M.2 SSDs also, but this is a fingerprint security USB stick. This does have USB Type-C and full-size USB 3.2, so this will work with anything. The software that's included for the fingerprint sensor is actually compatible with Mac or Windows, but this is really awesome. Now, all I really need to do is go ahead and plug it in. I've already set it up with my fingerprint. So as soon as my PC detects it, it'll bring us into the login screen. You will need to set up a password, but as soon as you have that, you can log in with your fingerprint. And this is really awesome. It'll encrypt your backed up data, and the software that's included will allow you to automatically back up your full drive, or you can just set up different directories. So for instance, if you just wanted to back up your picture section, as soon as you plug this in, log in, it'll scan it, and it'll automatically back it up to this drive. Now, it's not just a regular old USB drive. It's actually pretty quick for one of these. I've run a crystal mark on it, so it's a lot faster than like a SanDisk 32 gigabyte drive that you're going to find. And we've got quite a bit of room here, given that this is the 1 terabyte version, but they also offer it in 128, 256, 512, and of course 1 terabyte. If you're interested in learning more about the MoveSpeed USB 3.2 solid state fingerprint encryption drive, I will leave some links in the description to AliExpress. Now it's time to get inside of this handheld PS2, and the case itself is actually 3D printed. I don't know anybody who does injection molding on these cases, but there are some custom parts inside of here. I was actually really impressed. No hot glue or anything like that. It's actually gone together very professionally, and this will give us a good idea of how everything's set up. So it looks like we've got a custom frame here for the front buttons and the 7-inch IPS display. And like I mentioned, this is not hot glued in here. Everything's screwed down really nicely. Got those custom analog stick holders here. And in the top section, you can see we've actually got 4 18650 cells and the PS2 PCB, along with a real PS2 memory card kind of soldered in here with a nice ribbon cable. I actually didn't think we'd have this many custom parts inside of this unit. But they've been working on these for a while, and they've gotten a lot better over the years. And I did unplug the battery just to be safe here. This is actually really nice. Blower-style cooling fan to keep the PS2 CPU nice and cool. Custom battery cell holders. And yeah, I mean, I do think that they've done a really bang-up job putting this thing together. I've seen some from a few years ago that were really kind of messy inside with a lot of hot glue. This is very professional. And judging by the markings on the PS2's PCB, looks like we have the SCPH 9000CB PS2 Slim board here. So they've done a lot of work to get this inside of a handheld form factor, and overall, I've been really enjoying this thing. So far, this handheld PS2 has been working absolutely amazingly, and there's a few things that I'd like to do here. I want to get some more testing out of the way, like battery life and things like that. So if there's any other games you want to see running on this, or if you've got any questions at all, just let me know down in the comments below. And of course, if you're interested in learning a little more, maybe picking one of these up, I will leave some links to AliExpress in the description below. They can get quite expensive, and if you do want to go with something like a Steam Deck or even an ROG Ally to play your favorite PS2 games, it's totally up to you. But I thought this was an awesome concept, and to see it, really working with real PS2 hardware, in my opinion, is absolutely amazing. And by the way, while browsing AliExpress, I also saw a handheld Dreamcast with real hardware. This looks pretty cool. Love the way it's set up. So, if this is something you're interested in seeing reviewed, let me know down below. And right now, AliExpress is actually running their 828 event, so you can get $20 off orders over $100 by using code ALLONAE. That's all on AE, all capital. And this is going to be running from August 18th to September 24th. So don't forget to use that code. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. Really appreciate you watching. If you've got any questions, let me know down below. And like always, thanks for watching.